Good evening, everyone. It is 6:59. I'm gonna give everybody a couple more seconds just to get in, and in order for it to be 7 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen while we're waiting for them to join in, and then we're gonna get started. All right, guys. So it's 7 o'clock. Good evening to everybody that joined tonight. I hope everybody take all of this advice and information, also the dispute templates, and use them for your own personal use after this call tonight. Tonight, we are going to discuss and talk about charge offs and late payments. All right. So this is just a complete statutory and Regulation Z aligned guide that I decided to come up with to help you guys understand exactly what a charge off and a late payment is and how you guys should go about with far as getting those items deleted. Okay. So the purpose of this guide is to explain what a charge off and a late payments are, what federal law requires before they may be reported, how noncompliance makes reporting disputable, how to dispute using the Truth in Lending Act, which is Regulation Z, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is the FRA. All right, now this guide relies on actual statutory and regulatory obligations, not informed or unsupported credit repair theories. All right, I'm just gonna adjust my little window so I can see my guide a little bit, guys. All right, so section one, we're going to talk about charge offs. So, what is a charge off? A charge off is occurs when a creditor removes an account from active receivables and treats the balance as a loss for accounting purposes, typically after extended delinquency, right? So, the key legal facts of the charge off is that a charge off is not debt forgiveness. It is not a judgment. It does not eliminate disclosures, notice, or accuracy obligations. It still must be reported accurately and lawful. It must be reported accurately and lawfully, right? Now, a charge off is a factual claim, and factual claims must be supported by records demonstrating compliance with federal law. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move down here. Now, why are charge offs are often disputable? Charge offs frequently involve missing or non compliant billing statements, inaccurate balances, improper delinquency calculations, furnishing based on internal databases instead of disclosures that's actually provided to the consumer. All right. Now, if required disclosures were not provided, the charge off is procedurally defective, regardless of where the money is owed. Now, section two, we talks about late payments, right? So, what is late payment? A late payment is reported when a creditor asserts that a required payment was not received by the due date reflected on a billing statement. Late payments are commonly reported as 30, 60, 90, and 120 plus days. Now, with that being said, once it goes to 120 plus days, that's when it actually turns into a charge off. Okay. You cannot have a charge off without having 120 plus days late on an account. All right. So that's why I actually put this guide together, because it's the same concept that you're going to be using when you're deleting the actual late payments and when you're disputing your charge off. Because again, a charge off cannot happen unless you're 120 plus days late on a certain account. It can be a credit card account, auto loan, personal loan, whatever. If it's 120 plus days, they're going to throw it into a charge off. All right, now let's continue. So they may remain, the late payments may remain on the consumer report up to 7 years, but only if lawfully reported. Okay, so when a late payment may be reported, a creditor may not report a late payment as late unless a compliant periodic statement was mailed and delivered to us, right? The statement was provided at least 21 days prior to the due date. So if you have a credit card account, or whatever type of account that you have that's open, and that account, the due date is due by the 21st, 21 days prior to that date, you must get sent a periodic statement, mailed, and it has to be delivered to you 21 days prior before that due date. Okay. The amount and due dates were accurately disclosed. Required negative information notice obligations were met. Okay. Now, the negative information notice is from the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That's section 15 USC 1681 S2A7. All right. In order for them to actually furnish anything negative on your consumer report, they have to first send you a negative information notice. All right. Now, section 3 talks about the Truth in Lending Act, which is Regulation Z, is 15 USC 1637B. This strictly talks about the periodic statements, section, and what should be included. But strictly 1637, implemented by Regulation Z, is also referred to as 12 CFR 1026.7B. Guys, I want y'all to make sure that y'all are writing these laws down. Make sure that you go back and look at the laws you got yourself. Okay. Just in case anybody think I'm talking about the side of my neck, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just putting some things together to make it look good, sound good. Yeah. Write these laws down. Go look into it for yourself. Go study it yourself. And I'm going to leave it at that. What the law requires up under this section. For open-end consumer credit accounts, creditors must provide periodic billing statement. It clearly has to disclose the amount that's due, the due date, outstanding balance, and it has to be mailed or delivered, the statement, at least 21 days before the due date. Now, 12 CFR 1026.5 B2 further requires disclosures to be delivered in a form the consumer can retain. Now, guys, if you go to the Truth in Lending Act and you put in this section 1637B, and if you put in 1666B, it's going to tell you under 1666B that a creditor cannot treat a payment as late unless they have adopted reasonable procedures under 1637B, which talks about the periodic statement, and it gives you the whole entire list. It's like 11 items that must be included in that periodic statement, and it must be mailed and delivered to the consumer, which is us, before that 21-day period. You can go and look that up yourself. All right. 12 CFR 1026.5B2 further requires disclosures to be delivered in a form that the consumer can retain. Why does this matter? Because if a creditor cannot demonstrate that a compliant periodic statement was mailed or delivered at least 21 days before the due date, the consumer was not provided legally sufficient notice. Any resulting delinquency is unsupported. So basically, that simply means that in 1666B, requires you to have that statement, that periodic statement built to you up under 1637B. And if they did not send it to you within 21 days prior to you, for you to make that payment on that due date, then legally they cannot sit here and furnish or say that you did not make that payment by the due date, because they did not send you those prereqs before they reported that information. Also, again, y'all, when it comes to that negative information notice, once you do get to that 120 days, they still can't furnish, because they still have to send you that negative information notice, which again is 15 USC 1681 S2A7. And the Fair Credit Reporting Act, it talks about the negative information notice. They have to send you guys that before they can even furnish that negative information too. So these are 3 different laws that has to be included, that they have to comply with before furnishing anything on your consumer report. So the deal is that we would never write in our letters that, we made this payment on time, knowing that we didn't make it. We're not lying. We are holding them responsible under the federal law. We are holding them in compliance to make sure that they stay in compliance, and we're disputing up under compliance. Because if they want to throw at us the Fair Credit Reporting Act and that they have to hold us responsible, we're going to hold them responsible as well up under these laws that they should be following, because they're not following the laws either. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So 15 USC 1666B, implemented by Regulation Z 12 CFR 1026.13. What constitutes a billing error? So a billing error includes a statement of an amount not owed, failure to properly credit a payment, and an inaccurate balance caused by disclosure or account errors. All right. Now, let's talk about application to late payments and charge-offs. So, if a delinquency or charge-off is reported without compliant disclosures that we just went over, or based on unsupported balances, which means that they cannot support the fact that there's a balance that's still remaining that you still owe. The reporting reflects a billing error under the Truth in Lending Act and Regulation Z. All right. Now, Section 4 talks about the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which I just explained to you all before. It's 15 USC 1681 S2A7, the negative information notice. Before furnishing negative information to a consumer reporting agency, a furnisher must, it states that a furnisher must, not maybe, might, or they should, but they must. This is a federal law. They have to abide by this law. They must provide a clear and conspicuous notice. They must inform the consumer that negative information may be furnished, and they must provide that notice before or no later than 30 days after furnishing that negative information. So even if they don't send you guys the letter before, like say for instance, that they want to furnish it on the 15th of February, well, before the 15th of February, they need to go ahead and be sending that in January, okay? And that's prior. Now, once they do furnish you on the 15th, from the 15th and 30 days after, which would be 45 days, but that goes into March. They have to send you that information within that 30-day period once they do furnish. And if you never get it, then guess what? They cannot legally report it and they must delete it because they did not send you that negative information notice. Next, it completely says failure to provide this notice places the furniture out of compliance, which again, in my letters, I dispute strictly compliance because just like they want to hold us responsible for making those payments by those due dates and all this other kind of stuff, they want to furnish all this negative information once we don't, make the payment or, we're going through whatever at the time and they just don't want to comply. And it's like, well, we're just going to furnish this on your credit report. Well, we're just going to throw this compliance in your face and we're going to make sure that yours is in compliance also. So you need to make sure you got yours together before you want to come at me on my consumer report and want to come and report stuff. All right. Now, 15 USC 1681 IA5, deletion or modification. It strictly says after a reinvestigation, if information is inaccurate, incomplete, or cannot be verified, the consumer reporting agency must delete or modify the information. All right, now let's go to 15 USC 1681I A6B3. This is a method of verification, right? So we know once we actually dispute when it comes to the consumer reporting agencies, they like to reply back that the account has been valid, that the account is verified, and that it's updated. However, they never actually send you any documents or anything they have to show proof. So this method of verification is simply what that is that you're going to send them. So I just broke it down for you. All right. And this is the law that actually pertains to that method of verification. And this is also part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act as well. So I just wrote here that after a dispute is marked verified, a consumer has the right to request a description of the method of verification used, identification of the furniture contacted. The right exists to ensure the reinvestigation was reasonable and lawful. All right. Now, Section 5 is how you dispute. So it's a statute aligned letters that I did create for you guys to put in here. So I'm going to go over it with you. Now, this particular, the first letter right here, you're going to send off what you guys call the credit bureaus, but they're actually consumer reporting agencies. If you study and read the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you never hear Congress refer to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion as a credit bureau, because they're not bureaus, they're consumer reporting agencies. So we have to change our language when we're also creating our letters. All right. But for this time, I just did credit bureaus because that's what you guys refer to them as, but they are consumer reporting agencies. Now, let's go ahead with the letter. This is for the consumer reporting agencies. It just simply says, I am disputing the accuracy and completeness of the following account reported on my consumer credit file. You're going to put the creditor name, which is where it shows. It should say like Navy Federal, Alley Finance, Bank of America, whomever, whatever kind of credit card, Capital One or Credit One, Fit MasterCard, or whatever the creditor name is. You're going to list that creditor, and you're going to also write down the account number that you have. Now, I do want to say this, guys, prior to you making your letters out, please make sure that you always start from step one, which is to pull your consumer reports. And you know that you always can pull your consumer reports from annualcreditreport.com, or you can always go to my credit bureau IQ. I'm sorry, Credit Builder IQ. And then you can go to another credit monitoring service, which I like to use, my FICO, and those are actually accurate and have the most updated information also. But you always pull your consumer reports, and I always tell people the next step would be to highlight all your negative items so that you want to know what you're going to dispute, and then we're going to continue with the letter. So after the credit name, the creditor name, and then the account number, it just simply says the reported late payments and or charge off constitute factual assertions requiring compliance with the Truth in Lending Act, Regulation Z, 12 CFR 1026, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, pursuant to 15 USC 1637B and 12 CFR 1026.7B. Periodic billing statements must be mailed or delivered at least 21 days prior to the payment due date and must accurately disclose the amount due and due date. Absent verification that compliant statements were properly delivered, the reported delinquency is unsupported. Additionally, under 15 USC 66B, and 12 CFR 1026.13, reporting amounts not owed or information rendered inaccurate due to disclosure failures constitutes a billing error. Please conduct a reinvestigation as required by law pursuant to 15 USC 1681 I-5. If the disputed information cannot be verified as accurate and complete, it must be deleted or modified. Sincerely, your name. Now, I don't know about you guys. When I send out my dispute letters, definitely to the consumer reporting agencies, and if I'm disputing collections, I like to send out certified mail receipts to make sure that they get there. And then I'm also like to do the other green slips, which is the return receipts, to have the administrative assistant or whoever that's going to receive the letter to sign and date that they actually got the letter, because they like to play games and play dumb and like they ain't got no letter, they haven't received the letter, and in fact they did, because that's just what they do. Direct dispute to the furnisher, which is the person that furnished that information to your consumer report, which we also refer to as a creditor. It says that this correspondence constitutes a direct dispute submitted pursuant to 15 USC 1681 S2A7. You're going to write the creditor name, the account number. I dispute the accuracy of the late payments and or charge off being furnished regarding this account. Under 15 USC 1637B and 12 CFR 1026.7B, periodic statements must be mailed or delivered at least 21 days prior to the due date. Reporting a delinquency requires that such disclosures were properly provided. Further, 15 USC 1666B and 12 CFR 1026.13 define billing errors to include reporting amounts not owed or information rendered inaccurate due to disclosure or accounting deficiencies. Additionally, pursuant to 15 USC 1681 S2A7, furnishers must provide a negative information notice prior to or no later than 30 days after furnishing negative information. Please conduct a reasonable investigation and correct or delete any information that cannot be verified as accurate and compliant. Sincerely, your name. All right. Now, this is the method of verification request that you're going to send out to the consumer reporting agencies after they have said after they have did a verified response. Even if they did verified, validated, updated. All right. Let's go ahead and send this method of verification. Let's see what y'all got. How did you verify it? So it just says, I recently disputed the following account, creditor name, the account number. You have indicated that the disputed information was verified pursuant to 15 USC 1681 IA6B3. I am requesting a description of method of verification used in your investigation. Please provide. These are the information that's provided in that verification once they send it to you all. The name, address, and telephone number of the furnisher contacted, the specific records reviewed to verify the reported late payments and or charge off, confirmation of whether compliance with 15 USC 1637B and 12 CFR 1026.7B was evaluated, confirmation of whether notice requirements under 15 USC 1681 S2A7 were considered. If the information cannot be substantiated through a documented verification process, it remains unverifiable. Sincerely, your name. All right. And then I listed some key takeaways down here for you guys. Delinquency reporting is procedural, not automatic. No compliant periodic statements equals no lawful late payment. Okay. Negative information requires notice. Verification must be record based. Unverifiable data must be deleted. Now, I also added in some additional reinforcement sections, countering the verified response, stall tactics, and non-compliance when it comes to the furnishers, which we also call the creditors, because sometimes when you put them on blast, just like I did in those templates, they also like to say, "Oh, we verified it, that it's updated, or it's correct, and we're not removing it; it's going to remain." So now I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to respond when they start to stall, because it's nothing but a stall tactic, because now we have to put them on notice that we know they're supposed to do those things before furnishing to our consumer reports. So now they just want to stall just to see if we're actually going to respond. What creditors don't like and what consumer reporting agencies don't like is consistency. If you back off the moment that they try to scare you guys using these stall tactics, that's what they want. But we ain't doing that over here. We're going to continuously to go ahead and hit them with these laws. So when a creditor responds that information is verified, that response does not end the dispute. Verification must be substantive, record-based, and law compliant. A creditor statement that information is verified without demonstrated compliance with 15 USC 1637B, 12 CFR 1026.7B, 15 USC 1666B, and 15 USC 1681 S287 is conclusory and insufficient. All right, creditor verified response rebuttal letter. So this is a letter that you're going to send back to the furnishers or the creditors once they send you back verified, or it's going to remain, or they're going to say, well, here's another one that they like to stall with. It will say something in the matter of like they don't understand your complaint, like they're slow or stupid, like they don't understand that you're pretty much saying that they did not comply with the law. Like they just want to be dumb and act like they don't understand, like they can't comprehend your letter. And then they're gonna say like, oh, well, your dispute is invalid, so they don't see a reason of investigating, stuff like that. That's just stalling. So don't let that bother you. Send this letter right here that we're about to go over. It simply says a statement of verification without documentation demonstrating statutory compliance does not satisfy your obligations under the Truth in Lending Act, Regulation Z, or the Fair Credit Reporting Act. One more thing, y'all, before I further go on. Another stall tactic they do is they're sending you like how like the debt collectors are sending you like this summary of a statement. They'll try to send y'all that too. But that's stalling. That's not what y'all asked for. Anywho, to lawfully verify a reported late payment or charge off, you must be able to substantiate that a compliant periodic statement was mailed or delivered at least 21 days prior to the due date, pursuant to 15 USC 1637B and 12 CFR 1026.7B. The amount due and account balances were accurately disclosed and free of billing errors as defined by 15 USC 1666B and 12 CFR 1026.13. A negative information notice was provided in accordance with 15 USC 1681 S2A7. Absent documentation demonstrating compliance with these requirements, the information remains unverified and inaccurately furnished. Please correct or delete the disputed information accordingly. Sincerely, your name. All right. Another section when we talk about stall tactics, right? So common stall tactics used by creditors, as some of them I was explaining to y'all, they may send you like account summaries, as I just stated, internal screenshots, transaction histories, balance printout, the system notes. These are not sufficient. They are not sufficient. Why aren't they sufficient? Because summaries and internal records do not satisfy periodic statement delivery requirements, disclosure obligations under Regulation Z, billing error substantiation under Truth in Lending Act. The law requires actual disclosures, not reconstructed data, you guys. That's why it's very important that I keep stressing to you all that you all go over that section itself. 1637B. That's all. You can go to Google and just type in the Truth in Lending Act or TILA 1637B. It's 11 items that should be on that long periodic statement that you should be receiving 21 days prior to every month billing statement once it ends that you guys should be receiving. If you study over that, you will see the difference between those stall tactics that we just went over. Now, response to the summary of the stall tactics documentation. It simply says this letter responds to the materials you provided regarding the account listed below. You're going to put the creditor name, account number. You're going to say the documents provided consist of summaries and internal account data. These materials do not demonstrate compliance with the Truth in the Net or Regulation Z. Specifically, summaries do not establish that periodic billing statements were mailed or delivered at least 21 days prior to the payment due date as required by 15 U.S.C. 1637B and 12 CFR 1026.7B. The alleged delinquency did not arise from a billing error as defined by 15 U.S.C. 1666B and 12 CFR 1026.13. A negative information notice was provided pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 1681 S2A7. Absent production of the disclosures required by law, the reporting remains unsupported and must be corrected or deleted. Now, I added a section for affidavits that I sent to them because, for one, affidavits is a sworn statement that they have done all these things. And if they sign off on the affidavit and they lie, this is going to be a problem. So I also have affidavits that I completed in here that you're going to send with these letters to the creditors or the furnishers. Okay. So Section 8, affidavits of compliance. To defeat stalling and force accountability is basically what these affidavits are for. So affidavits, they shift the burden from assertions to sworn facts. If a creditor truly complied, they should be willing to attest to it under the penalty of perjury. These are not emails, they are sworn documents. Affidavit of periodic statement compliance. 15 U.S.C. 1637B, 12 CFR 1026.7B. So affidavit of periodic statement delivery, it just says I and whoever the person that's working for, let's say a firm, whoever in that department is working for Navy Federal, whoever is working for Bank of America, whoever is working for Capital One, Credit One, the Fit MasterCard, whoever is working for whomever, whatever it is that you dispute that you have a late payment or a charge off with, I such and such, being duly sworn, stating the facts that I am employed by whoever and am authorized to testify regarding the records of this account. 2, periodic billing statements for account number whatever were mailed or delivered to the consumer. 3, each statement was mailed or delivered at least 21 days prior to the payment due date. 4, the statements accurately disclose the amount due date, and outstanding balance. 5, the records supporting this affidavit are maintained in the ordinary course of business. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. They have to sign, print their name, title, and they have to date it, right? Now, this is the affidavit for their billing accuracy. Affidavit of billing accuracy, I, whoever, being duly sworn, state 1, the balance reported for account number whatever is accurate. All payments were properly credited. 3, the reported delinquency did not arise from any billing error as defined by federal law. 4, no disclosure or accurate accounting errors affected the reported status. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. All right. Now, this is the affidavit of a negative information notice. It's just like those prior to them, just stating and just swearing under penalty of perjury that they actually sent those letters out no later than 30 days after furnishing negative information regarding the account number, whatever. That the notice informed the consumer that the negative information may be furnished to a consumer reporting agency, and that the notice was delivered in compliance with the federal law. So they'll just fill out those out. All right. And then my final note to you guys is that you now have in this guide the statutes, the regulations, the consumer reporting agency and disputes, the credit disputes, that method of verification, the stall rebuttals, and the sworn affidavits. This is compliance pressure, not arguments. Like I said, I didn't argue with them. I strictly hit them with the laws. And I include my affidavits. I send everything certified. I also want the return receipt because I do not want no miscommunication about anything. All right. So this is how you all will dispute when it comes to your charge-offs and late payments. You're going to use the same exact method because, again, your charge-off cannot exist if you do not have late payments. Okay, so let's go ahead and start emptying out our debt bag in 2026 because we did not want to carry over any debt. All right. Good luck, guys, on your own credit repair. If you need some help, you can always reach out to me. If you're in my group, you know that you have my work number. You always book a consultation, or if you need to, you always can DM me. Thank you all for taking your time out tonight to put, just to put some work into you guys self, education into yourself. Good luck on your credit repair journey, and y'all have a good night.